New Crew, my name is Cassandra. Today it is like a quintessential fall day. It's meeting all of the requirements. It rained all night last night. It's supposed to rain again in a couple hours, so it's like super dreary and the wind is nice and crisp and chilly, which means we've definitely got to have some sort of stew tonight. Since we've been doing the carnivore diet this month, have been shopping at a lot of more like mom and pop homestead shops, and that's been a goal for us for a while, but this month we have really been doing that. About once a week after work, my husband's just been driving to a different homestead shop and kind of checking it out, looking around and buying a couple of things. Well, we've been talking about doing meat rabbits for a couple of years, but it's never really lined up with the season of life that we were in, so we've always waited. Well, we also kind of decided we should probably eat a rabbit or two, make sure we actually enjoy eating them before we invest in the rabbits and the setup and all of the things. So that being said, last night my husband found a whole rabbit. It was like 20 bucks, so it was kind of expensive for just one rabbit. But we're gonna cook that tonight with a bunch of homestead vegetables, get that in the Dutch oven, in the crock pot, or in the Dutch oven and in the oven. I think it's a little before noon. It's about 11:30. I had to run to Walmart this morning to pick up a couple pans. We also just finished a huge homestead project, which was sauerkraut. We ferment sauerkraut the old-fashioned way in really big crocks and weight it down with water and salt and a couple different herbs like caraway seeds and whatnot. And it's the best sauerkraut. Every time we do that, my father-in-law also ferments a couple whole cabbage heads, and then once a year he makes roly-polies, which are just, they're like stuffed cabbages. He stuffs them with Italian sausage and beef, a little bit of rice, and then bakes it in the cabbage leaves that he drenches with the last of the garden tomatoes and garlic and onion and garden peppers. They're delicious. You want me to open that for you, baby? Oh, thank you. I'll open it. That being said, he gave me a whole crock full of these roly-polies. And because we're on the carnivore diet, we're not supposed to eat one, but they were fresh, and I told my husband, I'm eating one. I'm doing a little bit of cheat meal. My husband did not, but I definitely did. So I enjoyed one roly-poly. The kids all had one, and we want to put the rest of them in the freezer, which is why I got these plastic tins. I'm gonna section them up. I think I'm gonna put 4 or 5 roly-polies in each tin. I got 6 tins. I don't think I'm gonna need that many, but there you go, honey. I figured I would rather get more than I needed because I can always put these tins down on the storage shelf and have them for the holidays are coming up. We'll use them. So here's our big crock full of roly-polies. They look like this. You can see how absolutely, utterly delicious these look. I have no idea how many are in here, but my father-in-law made a big crock for all of the kids. Do you need some help, honey? Yeah. Yeah. You want this back together? Yeah. Yeah, like that? You're welcome, baby. So I'm just gonna start kind of digging in here. I'm gonna try to do my best to keep them still wrapped in these cabbage rolls. But here, you can see if you peel back the cabbage, it's just stuffed with rice and some meats and things, and these are so good. But because he only makes them once a year, they're a really good treat, and they're so good for you because it's all just fermented vegetables. I want to try to fit 4 in a package, but then we can pull these out kind of whenever we want one, and we can. My husband and I were talking about maybe pulling some of these out for Thanksgiving or Christmas or something. But so good. And then we accidentally unstuffed one of our cabbages here. But I also kind of want to run maybe some of these over by my neighbors because I want to make sure that these are being used when they're still in really good shape. This will sit in the freezer really well. It'll hold really well. One of these packages is gonna go over by my neighbors. Yeah, honey. I like to top mine with some mozzarella cheese usually. Yeah, Cleo? This one's a little dry. And then, like, some of these are kind of dry. I have one or two options. I can either dump some of this juice in, which I'm not going to do, but when I bake these, I'll just dump a fresh thing of tomato sauce over these, like our homegrown, home-canned tomatoes. I could top it with a little cheese if I wanted, and then bake in the oven. And it's really gonna be that simple. This came with some tops. I just got some cheapo ones today. My kids don't love roly-polies. They'll eat these probably once or twice. And they usually share them. They use these more as a side than a main dish, which is totally fine. But I'll pair these with like some pasta for the kids or maybe like a meatloaf or something, and then they'll just use this as a side. But I'm going to finish getting all of these packaged, wrap them in some tin foil, and then we're gonna put these out in the deep freeze for meals throughout the winter. I wrapped everything, at least in the first layer. I ended up getting 4 meals worth for us, plus I had 3 extra cabbage rolls for my neighbors. I'm gonna go ahead and text her and let her know that I have that for her, and I'll run that over when I'm done over here. But what I really need to do is actually Google how to cook a rabbit in a Dutch oven, because I've never done it before and I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm gonna do a little bit of reading, because what I'm going for is like a braised rabbit with vegetables, kind of like, you know, a stew. Okay, so it's actually saying that I should soak my rabbit in vinegar and water beforehand to help reduce like a really gamey flavor, but it also is gonna help tenderize the rabbit a little bit. So I'm going to do that. It doesn't say how long you need to soak it, but I'm gonna finish reading this to figure out. Braise at 300 degrees for an hour and a half to 2 hours, or until the rabbit is tender. Okay, so I definitely have some time. I'm shooting for this to be ready around 4 o'clock. So because it's not even noon yet, yeah, it's 11:30. I've got plenty of time, so I'm gonna pull the rabbit out, find something that I can soak it in. What do I have that is big enough to soak this rabbit? I think this will do. Okay, Tupperware, water, vinegar, rabbit. Let's get on it. Okay, I'm gonna finish filling this up with some water just so that it's covering the rabbit. I'm gonna let this sit for a while we prep all of our vegetables and get our Dutch oven out and just kind of like get the next steps ready for this rabbit. Okay, our rabbit is soaking. I'm gonna start with our carrots because I actually have them out on the counter already. I actually need to do that many vegetables because Joe and I aren't eating them. So it's really just what the kids are gonna go through. So I'm going to click, just while we're doing this, I'm gonna soak 4 red potatoes from the garden. I think that'll be good for the kids. Start peeling these carrots here, and we're just gonna get everything prepped, and I will set it aside because my toddler's having some quiet time and my baby is napping. So I'm gonna do all the prep work that I can now. That way, when I'm ready to actually kind of throw this together, I'm just dumping things in the Dutch oven and putting it in the oven, because I can do that one-handed if I have to while holding my baby. So we need a knife. And I will save all these scraps here. I'm getting ready to make some different kinds of bone broth. So I've been saving all of my veggie scraps to put in the freezer. That way when I'm ready to make my bone broth, I have a lot of really good scraps. Let's see. 4 beautiful red potatoes. I have more potatoes. If I cut this up and feel like it's not quite enough, I'll add some more, but I think that 4 should be pretty good. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. We'll add this to our bowl with our other vegetables here. This recipe is also calling for either rabbit stock or chicken stock. Obviously, I don't have rabbit stock. So I'm gonna whip up a little bit of chicken stock so that this can sit and kind of dissolve and do its thing. Like I said, it's about using nap time to my advantage here. I wish I had some of my chicken stock that I get from my local Alma shop. It's so much better than this, but I haven't had time to get in there. But I think next month that's gonna change. But for now, this run down into food storage to grab more tinfoil. And they'll just go in the freezer like this. I'll label these with what they are, because if I don't and I send my husband out there to find them, he will never find them. So okay, we got 4 of these for the freezer. I think this is what, 4, 6, 28-ish roly-polies in here, plus what I'm giving to my neighbor. So these are good to go into the freezer, which is fantastic. Lots of meals headed into this winter, especially when it's something you only make once a year. To have leftovers is fantastic. So these are gonna go out in the deep freeze. Rabbit is still soaking in our water vinegar mixture. Nowhere on my recipe does it specify how long that rabbit should be soaking. Here's my real life counter. So I'm just gonna leave it for a little bit because I'm assuming it's only gonna take about it takes 2 hours in the oven, but first we have to braise it on the stove. So I'm gonna say maybe 3-ish hours total, probably a little less than that, but let's overestimate just in case. So I'll probably start putting the rabbit in the Dutch oven around like 1 o'clock, which would mean that it's soaking for about an hour and a half, which I think is perfectly fine to get the gaminess out and do what it needs to do. So I'm gonna put these in the deep freeze. Everything is prepped. I'm gonna clear off my counter, give my kitchen a reset because I'm most likely solo parenting for most of the night. My husband has to work late, so he's not gonna be home till later. So I'm gonna try to do all of the cleaning, all the dinner prep stuff done now. That way tonight when the kids come home, it's smooth sailing. So far, I think I'm meeting my goal. I'll have to put these in the freezer and I'll catch back up with you guys in a little bit when we are braising our rabbit. The rabbit recipe that I looked at wants me to debone this rabbit and do like rabbit chunks. I'm gonna braise it whole. That's just the way I'm going to do it. I do not have it in me today to break that rabbit down, to debone it and put it down into chunks. I'm assuming it's gonna work all in the same. It's just gonna be like roasting a whole chicken, but instead of a chicken, we're gonna do this rabbit. So I'm pretty excited about it. So I'll catch back up with you guys in a little bit. I was cleaning out my fridge because it definitely needed it. And I found about maybe a quarter of a bag of green grapes that were in my fridge from once a month grocery shopping. What's today, the 20th, I think? The 21st. So these have been in the fridge for about 21 days. Not molded, not rotting, anything like that, but definitely beyond their prime for fresh eating. So I just dumped whatever I had left for green grapes in my steam juicer. It's not gonna give me a lot, which is actually great. What's up, honey? It's not gonna give me a ton, which is actually kind of what I'm looking for. I will take this grape juice with a little bit of grape juice that I have left in the fridge. It's unsweetened from Aldi. And I will make a small batch of grape jelly. It'll be a white grape jelly. I think it'll be really great. I'm thinking ahead for the holidays. I want to hand out some nice loaves of bread or homemade English muffins, homemade bagels, something like that, with a variety of different Homestead like jams and jellies and like apple butter, pear butter, things like that. That being said, that's what this is for. I turned my stove on. I'm gonna let this go, do its thing, and I will get however much juice I get out of it is how much juice I get out of it. Not counting on a lot because there's not a lot of grapes in here. If I were to come across like a really good sale on grapes, or maybe somewhere I could buy them in bulk, like Azure Standard or something, I would steam a ton of them. Maybe I'm kind of thinking in the future, because my kids, during carnivore, we've really started looking at labels. We always have, but really digging into like added sugars, extra sugars, all the things that they put in our food, right? And it's not very often my kids have Walmart jelly, but one that we do buy upon occasion is like a grape, you know, purple grape jelly. So I'm thinking about getting, you know, getting stuff to make my own grape jelly. That way we aren't buying it from the store, because it's really not great. And the local Amish shops that I sometimes will buy jams and jellies from, they're really expensive, as you know they should be. You're making things homemade from scratch, like small batch cooking. They've got to be more expensive, right? So it's much more cost efficient for me to just make one batch, even if that means I'm just grabbing a jug of like a sugar-free juice from Aldi or something. Aldi's juices in their jugs are usually very clean. They're usually like no sugar added. A lot of time it's just concentrate with water, maybe a little bit of lemon juice or something. So they're usually pretty decent. So that's why I'm not afraid to mix that Aldi juice in with whatever grape juice I get out of here, plus maybe like a purple grape juice or something to make a traditional purple grape jelly, because this will be more of like a clear white-ish because they're green grapes. So food for thought, something to think of, future projects, I don't know. But we're also going to steam these, get these taken care of today, and I'm not expecting to get more than like maybe a pint out of this, but it's better than throwing it to the chickens or throwing it in a garbage can. So we'll see what we get off of this today.
Our rabbit was pretty simple. I started by putting a couple tablespoons of butter in my Dutch oven, let those melt down, and let my cast iron get like screaming hot. We went ahead and seared our rabbit on both sides, just like you would a roast or something. While I was doing that, I preheated my oven to 350 and topped our rabbit with a couple of different herbs and spices: pepper, onion powder, salt, thyme, a little bit of basil, just kind of what sounds good to you. But that's what I went for. Then I went ahead and, like I said, seared it on both sides. Once my rabbit was seared on one side, I went ahead and flipped it over and did the same seasoning mix on the other side. I forgot. I also threw in 2 bay leaves per recommendation on a handful of different recipes that I read. I put in a little bit of flour to make our roux. This is going to thicken our gravy, or make that like stew-like thick soup almost. It's kind of just however you want to classify it. I put in a little bit of flour into our melted butter, whisked that in a little bit, and then this is where you could deglaze with either white wine or chicken stock. I typically almost never use wine in my cooking, so I went ahead and just dropped in a little bit of that chicken stock that we made earlier. Went ahead and let that cook down for a little bit, topped it with our root vegetables that we prepped earlier in the day, and topped it with the top of the Dutch oven and got it in the oven at 350. Website said it would probably take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to cook, or until rabbit was tender. I find that to be very true. Overall flavor of this rabbit, we liked it. Surprisingly enough, we liked the white meat a lot better than the dark meat. Typically, that is the other way around for us. We are a dark meat family. But it wasn't super gamey. I think we liked it. We enjoyed it. However, I don't see us doing meat rabbits in the future. And that's why it's always good to test, figure out things, try it before you invest. This is all of the grape juice that we got off of our grapes. And you can see I totally just dumped a ton on my floor. But definitely enough to make a decent batch of grape jelly, which is what we wanted. I was just periodically checking that rabbit, just trying to pull it apart. Pulled that out of the oven and just kind of let it cool on the stove for a little bit. And you can see how easily this pulled apart. I 100% would recommend the water vinegar bath. I think that helped a lot here, but this was dinner tonight. I hope wherever you guys are, you're having a fantastic day. Thanks for taking time to hang out with me in the kitchen and tackle a couple homestead things, and I will see you guys in another one. Bye.